episode of Tainted Lovers. I'm Helki and I'm here with my best friend Cali to catch up on the books we've been loving recently. Woo! First episode. What was we thinking? We was thinking to start off this episode, we would sort of focus on what's free on your Audible subscription, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've been reading some of the same books, so we'll definitely be diving into those and also mentioning some books that we've listened to individually. We'll only be touching on stuff that's free on Audible. So you go ahead. What do you want to talk about first? And it can be something you just listened to or something we both listened to.
Let's kick off with the dragon one because I know I've just finished it and you're obsessed with it. So it's fresh, yeah.
What was the first one called? It was called Reign of the Dragons, right?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
I loved this book. It's the first of, I think, like 6 books. So I've read the second book. We won't talk about that. We'll just talk about the first book because Steph's read it. I loved it because I love dragons anyway. I'm obsessed with dragons. So then Dragon Shifters, now I'm obsessed with Dragon Shifters. Dragon Shifter romances, because I'm going to tell you later, Steph, that I've read another Dragon Shifter romance that's on the free Audible. So I will mention that one later.
Oh my God, who knew there were so many?
Wow. I hunted them down. There's way more, but you have to pay for them. So what were your thoughts on this book? Like, I loved it, obviously, but do you be honest? If you didn't like it, just be honest. We'll talk about it.
I'm going to be honest. I hated this book. Hated it. Like, it was just, every character was just so flat and two-dimensional. There was no depth to anyone. And how every single man with a pulse and a penis was instantly in love with her drove me round the bend. Like, oh, you're so amazing, you're so special, you're so wonderful, and she does nothing.
She was special. She had dragon energy,
which doesn't even mean anything because the author doesn't explain it. She just falls into a pit and then suddenly glows. And don't even get me started, this really annoyed me, was when she first caught herself in the mirror after having her miraculous new powers, and then, oh, I'm so glowing, and suddenly I'm skinny, and oof.
Agree with you. I didn't like that bit, but I loved it. You didn't like any of the romances, nothing.
No, because they had no depth. There was 4 guys, or well, 3 and a dragon, and none of them had any depth. I'm like, they could all be the same apart from their hair colors. I get the reverse harem thing, which we both love, but it just wasn't there for me. It was no.
That's so sad, like, for me, that you didn't enjoy it. We can't gush over that one together. I really liked it. Like, I get like it's not the most amazingly written book. I can let things slip if I enjoy the plot. I really liked the plot. Like, I thought it was really interesting how she was like brought up a dragon like killer and then ends up having dragon magic and then, you know, having to move into this whole new world.
It had potential. It really had potential. But one of the other things that I guess put me off from the very beginning was the cover was a bit misleading as well. It's the fact that it's like an urban fantasy. So
yeah,
I expected it to be more fantastical and like Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings, and suddenly she's pulling out machine guns, and I was like, so
I remember when I downloaded the book, my partner Trey, like, he read the first line and he was like, what the hell, she's got a handgun. I really enjoyed the dragon world, and it was my first dragon shifter romance, so maybe I'm just being blinded by my love of dragons.
Well, see, I'm intrigued about the dragon element. I just think that wasn't a very well written story, so I'd be interested to try a different one. So it hasn't like ruined dragon
shifter romance
or whatever, yeah, for me. But
I really thought you would have liked Jace. Like, Jace is the sort of head dragon guy.
Only because he's blonde.
Okay. Yeah.
But he's the same as every other character.
He's not the same as Tucker.
Oh,
I
they are.
disagree. I strongly disagree. I'm hoping to dive a bit more deep into that one, but
Well, you like, by all means, I want to hear what you enjoyed most.
I think so. I do recommend this book for people who do love like dragon shifter romances. I could see Steph's points, definitely. Although I did find the characters, but maybe it's because I read it. So I did read the first book.
That's true.
So I only listened to the second book on Audible, and I didn't enjoy it as much because it was on Audible, but I don't know.
Yeah, as I was listening, I did kept thinking to myself, this would have been better if I'd read it. I just think I was plowing through it, so I had it on quite fast as well because I wanted to get it finished for this. I had it on like the top speed.
I would have had of the book was one thing that did annoy me when I was reading it was always referencing like that she was a part of the Skeptors and Spectres or something, like the rule one, and like we don't feel. I wanted to be endorsed in the dragon world and not always reminded of the past. So the first guy that she meets is actually a human. He's not a dragon shifter, and he's called Tucker. And I think he's a really fun character. But I guess like, okay, so yeah, the guys all do really like obsess over, her name's Rory, right? But I really like that in a romance. So I'm quite easily pleased when it comes to that sort of thing. If it's sort of a hate to love thing, which we are going to go on to a hate to love, I struggle with that more. So for me, this was like a 5-star. I love obsessive love, dragon shifters. So this, and I better just go through a bit more of the book for people who might want to read it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So Tucker is actually a human, and he's the only person that she's like has any kind of sexy time with in this whole book. Right?
That's true. I was waiting for the Jace thing. She said about him being a blonde, and I was like, well, why is she getting Tucker? When's Jace coming along?
Yeah. Okay. So the second.
I mean, I'm sure there'll be exactly other books.
No, but the second book still no Jace, like sexy time. There's only sexy time with Drew.
I knew it was going to be Drew because she kissed. Spoiler alert.
At the end, yeah.
Yeah.
So like it is, I think, quite tame for like a romance. It's not like super high erotica, and there's only that one. She only has sex with one guy, and it's only once or twice, right? So if you're sort of into more about the life and the plot of the characters, then it's a great book. It's not just a like get your rocks off kind of book, right?
You need to have the balance of the both, because there was that one that we both tried before this that we separately listened to. We didn't know each other were listening to it, and it was just sex.
Yeah,
and we both stopped at like.
What was that called?
Sexy.
We have another book of hers that we did enjoy that we're going to talk about. It's definitely like on the sexy scale, like sexy time scale. It's definitely like out of 10, like a 2 or a 3. Like it's really low. It's definitely more reverse harem romance. So then Jace is like the head of what the dragon place that they're staying at. That's the second guy that you sort of meet. And then you end up meeting the third guy, who was this dragon who was helping her a lot.
I like the dragon, Levi.
I know, I love Levi. Yeah.
Anyone not human, and yet had the most personality.
I know. I'm really excited because I think in future books he's gonna shift back, but he's like basically gone feral. He can't shift to human form. Like something happened where he went feral, so he's always a dragon. And then Jace, he's like got a mate bond with her. His sort of obsession over her is more, he doesn't have a choice because it's like a thing that dragons do, like their dragon bonds with someone, kind of like, you know, Twilight and Jacob you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's 4 like love interests, but really in this book it's just one. She just has one like encounter with that Tucker, who is actually a human. It's pretty slow paced, pretty long book. So yeah, just know that you've got 2 people here, someone who loves it and someone who hates it. So I think in a way that's kind of good. Like, people are getting a real unbiased opinion straight off the bar, first episode. We're not just going to agree on everything, guys. So stick around, subscribe.
For the first episode, though, I thought we would.
I know, so did I. That's what I was
You
like,
normally
shocked.
agree on
I
everything.
couldn't hide my shock. I was like, oh my God, she didn't like it and I loved it. Damn it. So let's move on. What should we talk about next?
Well, speaking of shocks, I felt the same when I saw your 2-star for LJ Shen's Vicious.
Oh my God, I forgot that you could see my... See, I need to follow you so then I would have known what you would have starred.
That was like a dagger to the heart.
It's a 2.5 if you read the review, actually.
Okay, sorry. Well, I remember in your review you saying it's because you don't like enemies to lovers, but that's one of my favorite tropes.
Yeah, so that's so interesting. I never knew that. I never knew that about you.
What I'd mention it. Angst.
You love a bit of angst. I think it is the enemies to lovers and the I didn't like the guys. Okay, so we say what we're talking about. Did we say what we're talking about?
Vicious by LJ Shen.
Okay, Vicious. And I did listen to the whole thing, and I got like a third through one of the other books. Did you listen to any of the other ones from that series?
I did. I think I went through them all but one, because there was one that I really didn't like, and I just thought I do not want to.
I listened to the whole thing and it got better, and I even said that in my review. I said it got better as it went along. Like the second half was way more bearable than the first half.
Well, I listened to 3 others. I'm not sure. So there were 4 I listened to.
Every book is about one of the guys in that group of guy friends.
As much as I loved it, I really can't remember it.
Oh, I got over halfway through, actually. Scandalous.
Which one was Scandalous?
The one who doesn't talk much, Trent.
Yes. Yeah. So Vicious and that one were the 2 that I really enjoyed. The other 2, not so much.
Okay, so I didn't mind it, but I was like, oh, it's just really similar to Vicious. But okay, so Steph, you need to go through for our listeners, like, what is this book all about?
I can't remember. It's really bad. So just to clarify, I am in a reading rut, which is the worst time to start a book podcast when you're in a reading rut. But that's where I am.
Yeah, but this is to help inspire you out of that rut, and nothing like a bit of romance to do that.
I know, but I think because I've listened to it already, it wasn't.
I can refresh you, and then it'll
Thank
come
you.
back. So it starts off from Amelia's point of view, and she's basically from not like a wealthy family. Her parents are like the housekeepers of this like rich estate, and this house is owned by Vicious's parents, well, his dad and his stepmom, and he lives there too, and they have their own little house on the grounds, right?
Oh, that's
and
right.
he is really, really horrible to Amelia, like, and there's no understanding why. She's even like in the book, why is he so horrible to me? Like, why? You remember?
Coming back.
And he's like, it's really misogynistic. To begin with, it's like it was so hard to listen to, because it's when you get to his point of view, and then all the way he's using girls, and it's pretty gross if you're not into that type of guy, which I'm not. I really like the you're the only one for me kind of guy. Even though this is why the book does get better, because he does end up,
he is that way.
yeah, like being that way.
Yeah.
But at the start of the book, it was difficult because he wasn't acting that way. He was sleeping with anyone. He was being really mean to her.
Like the first half, obviously, I knew from the blurb that we were going to skip ahead to when they were no longer in school. So with that comes maturity anyway. The beginning was, I agree, was a bit eek.
Yeah. So when we got through that part, he skips ahead and she's working at some Hooters type bar, and he comes in. It's in New York now, and yeah, there's the obsession restarts, would you say?
Yeah, I'm really struggling to remember.
He offers her a job as his assistant, and I'm just hoping I'm not mixing it up with Scandalous. I'm pretty sure I'm not, because that guy had a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then her sister's really sick, so she ends up taking the job because she needs the money. And he's still even at that point, even though they're grown adults, that was the thing, he'd call her help, and that really annoyed me.
Oh yeah.
And he even called her it a few times when she was working for him as well, which was oh, grow up.
Yeah.
But one thing that good for her, good for Amelia, is that back in high school, she started dating one of his best friends, which really pissed him off. But that actually, you find out later, spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers, I don't know what we're going to tell them. Later on, you find out that he actually ends up forcing Amelia to move out of California, and that she has to break up with him, blackmails her.
Oh my God, it's all coming back to me. I think my problem with reviews, so I gave it 5 stars, was because
you gave it a 5-star.
Because I don't it wasn't a 5-star read this is the best book ever, but it's how a book makes me feel. No, I did it fresh after finishing it, so I need time to process. I shouldn't review straight away.
No, that's fine. Just because that's the thing, even with the dragon thing, it's yeah, I can hear your perspective, and I can think, oh, maybe it isn't as good as I think, and maybe I'm just riding on the high of finding my first dragon shift of romance. But it's no, this made me feel excited. I wanted to pick it up every day, because I actually read that one. And same with Audible, you want to listen to it whenever you get a chance. You did listen to this one on Audible? Yeah. I do think the narrators were good for this. That always helps. Yeah,
it does really make a difference. I find I actually enjoy those romances so much more listening to them on audio, because I feel it's a play, it's being performed in my head. Yeah,
I think I still prefer reading
if the narration is good.
Yeah, I don't know, I still prefer reading them, but then lately I've had so much work to do in the garden, and so I do read a lot more on Audible now. But like I said, I still preferred reading the dragon one, then I listened to the second one. So even though it's still just as a good story, I preferred reading it, but it takes longer, obviously. Yeah, so basically they end up, I don't even remember how, I guess he does end up confessing his feelings, right? When you give this a 5-star, Steph.
I know, but
what was it? Okay, what was it about the feelings let's tell the audience what it is about the feelings, why they should go read this book. He's
hot, he's possessive, he's moody. Tick, tick, tick.
Yeah, I like the possessive and moodiness. That's definitely a trope I'm into. So that's probably a reason why I kept listening. The only thing I didn't like was at the beginning, the bullying, but you like that, right? That's a trope you like.
It is a trope I like.
So what about that other book that we read?
18?
No, Punk 57. Is it?
Oh, was that's not free though.
I know it's not free, but that was another one I didn't like because it was a bully.
I loved that story.
Did you see this?
I have read that about 3 times.
Oh my god, you've read
story.
that 3 times.
Yes.
Oh my god, I hated it.
Good girl. She was so complex and just I loved it. And Misha was wonderful.
No, I didn't like it at
It's
all.
crazy.
But then I think that's like where there is that, for me, I really don't like bully romances, and then for you really like them. So that's good. It shows we're going to be bringing a mix of opinions.
I won't recommend a bully romance to you ever again. I make sure.
No, why? You should still.
No, because you don't like them.
I might change my mind.
No, you won't.
I might.
That's fine.
You like reverse harem tropes, and you still didn't like that one. We're not always gonna like.
It's just because it was poorly written.
Okay.
That's only why.
I didn't think
everything else, like I'm saying, it had potential, but just it wasn't well executed.
And there was a happy ending, and I put that in my review. So Fictitious has a happy ending, and that's always important for me as a romance reader.
Yeah, I agree. The problem with when I was listening to Vicious or reading it, sorry, I read that one. I was at the time when I was going through so many stories. I was just like one after another, so everything just kind of blended.
Yeah.
Like I think in that month I'd read like 10 books, so
yeah,
it all got a bit muddled.
I'm having a month like
anyway,
that.
18. I noticed. I saw your Goodreads. I thought, good lord, she's plowing through stories.
I've only just started like trying to use Goodreads and update it since we decided to do this. I was like, I can't remember what I've read. Like 18 is another free Audible, and this one is by J.A. Huss, and we both love this book. So finally we're agreeing.
Right. I was hesitant because there are some free ones that can be rubbish. I mean, by the same author, we tried that Sexy. We should have seen what was coming with a name like that, to be honest.
I know.
That they can be bad.
When you sent me this, I was not tempted to read it with the 8 being called 18.
Teenager.
Yeah.
We're too old for that.
Yeah. If it's a good enough story, then fine. And it was. So
it was a good story.
It was good enough, definitely, for a free. I can't remember what I gave it.
I don't know what I gave it either.
I gave it 4 stars. Cool, that's generous.
I wouldn't say it's a 5-star read,
but it was like really gripping. It was like fast paced enough.
I gave it 4. I think it's more of a 3.5.
Yeah, I agree. So this is a very steamy book.
Wasn't it just?
Yeah. So I broke down the other books. You must remember this one, so you should.
I do remember this one. So what was so wild about this one is that if I hadn't listened to the author's note at the end and seen a comment on, I think it was on Goodreads, like you would think the story was so far-fetched that you would kind of roll your eyes. It's got taboo sex relationships which are very steamy and you gave the other one like a 2 or a 3. This one's got to be up there with like a 7 or 8, maybe even like 8.5, I think.
Yeah.
So the teacher is Mateos,
is it?
Mateos. And then we had her friend who she meets when she's first getting assigned. They bond over a band t-shirt. Is it Bringing Back Sunday? Was that the band? I think so. She nicknames him Sunday. His name's Danny, but she just calls him Sunday. What was it interesting about the way she wrote it? It made me in the beginning. It made me think that Sunday was going to be a bad guy in some way. Like, you know, she was weaving the story. He's mixed up with some bad people, and Mateo's always telling her to stay away from him, and he's not good for you. So she had me with that one, to be honest. I wasn't sure whether he was going to actually be a bad guy or not, but he ends up being the sort of jokey, lovable male counterpart to Matteo's seriousness, I suppose.
Yeah, it's just more of a like he fancies her, and he's always like there. He's like basically saying, I'm here as a backup if you'll have me. But she never does, because he's like, the other guy's so possessive.
Nice how it gives you the option. Yeah, they're both hot. It gives you the option of, not everybody likes the Matteo, or we clearly do, but not everybody likes that. A lot of people like the lovable, jokey one.
Yeah,
which to an extent works, but they're always the side character in stories. They're never end game. I have noticed. I've never read one where there's two guys, and one is we're always going to reference Twilight. It's where it began. One is the sort of jokey, light-hearted Jacob, and the other is the more serious, stoic Edward.
Yeah,
but they the Edward. I would pick the Edward.
Yeah,
but it's kind of that element. Her sister was a drug addict and died after giving birth to a baby, so she's living with the baby's father and her niece, and helps look after her niece, and she has this real, financial struggle. I guess it's where the drug element comes in. Her niece's father is a bit of a layabout and also has drug issues. He deal drugs? He doesn't take them, does he? He's a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Remember? So
she doesn't know he deals drugs the whole time. My internet's just lagging a bit. I'm gonna try to change to my hotspot because you're frozen to me. Am I frozen to you? I'm hoping that's gonna be better. Come back to me, Steph. Come back. Oh my god, why? Hello? Yes, yeah,
sorry,
I'm back.
You had frozen.
Yeah, so her sister's baby dad, who she lives with, he's an absolute asshole. He even hits her sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean, the author didn't touch on, I don't think, from what I can recall, that being part of her life. But the way it was just so casual, I know, sadly, some people's experiences really are that way, and it makes them tough, and they just kind of brush it off. But I didn't like how it got kind of brushed off.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is just the norm. But I guess for some people it is. And
yeah, I would have thought that there would have been more of a storyline there with Marteus like reacting to that, because he's so jealous and possessive, but he never like really did anything or react to anything, like living with this abusive guy.
No, but I think that may be from that's our view, because we've never, thankfully, experienced anything like that. And I do think, the setup of where she's from is this rough neighborhood, that it is kind of more the norm,
I guess. So the romance, kind of, I would think with this, it was a nice fast pace.
It's very fast paced,
and I like that generally with romance. They caught feelings, both of them, really quick, and they were quite honest about that.
Oh my god, the honesty. Well, I say the honesty. Matteo had a lot of secrets, but he was honest about his feelings.
Yeah.
I love. There's nothing I hate more in a story than when people miss opportunities or something because of miscommunication, because they don't choose to communicate their feelings. It drives me insane.
I know. How you love bully romances, I don't know.
Yeah, but they're honest about feelings to an extent. They're just not nice feelings. It's more when they're when it's like a friend situation and they just don't want to be honest because they don't want to hurt someone's feelings or something.
That's too realistic trauma. I don't want to think about those situations.
Oh no.
For both of us, especially you. No wonder you don't like reading it.
Oh my god.
Sorry. Okay. Anyway, back to Marteus.
That's not his name.
What's his name?
Oh, what is his surname? This is I can't remember what his surname is. I think she called him by his surname. Matteo, was that his name? She was close. Matteo, I think.
Okay.
We're so professional. Unbelievable.
I know. Sorry, get better, guys. It'll get better. I liked about him was he was like shockingly upfront.
Right? That's what I mean. He's unusual. Like, I've never read a character like him. I loved that because I love when people communicate their feelings.
Yeah.
To an extent.
Sorry. Sorry. Okay, sorry guys, private jokes.
I love how you get it though.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, like honestly, that was what was my favorite thing about this character was he's just so upfront. So he was upfront about the school stuff, upfront about his feelings, upfront about what he wanted sexually. Yeah, it was
hot.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know, would you call this a dark romance?
No, it's taboo, him being a teacher, but I wouldn't call it dark.
To begin with, I felt like, oh, is this going to be a dark romance? Because she was really like, I don't even know, like the first class, right, they have like a sexual encounter, and she afterwards was all like, I didn't even know if I wanted that, like what the hell.
Yeah.
But then I think, yeah, you're right, it just sort of, she obviously caught feelings and it didn't go down that dark
because I feel like if she had said no, he would have been okay on the brakes.
Yeah,
you know, if she made it explicitly clear, then he would have.
Overall, I think we both pretty much rated this. We both gave it 4-star. It's free. It's also a really short book.
It was short, wasn't it?
About 7 hours.
I think so. And then obviously depending on speed.
I always listen on 2 times, so definitely give it a go. It's a quick read. It's like, I think, pretty gripping the whole time.
It has a good plot as well. It's just the steaminess.
Yeah, we won't give away like the end. Oh, the end, though, like I'm not going to give it away, but you know what? There is a happy ending. We can say that. Come on, it's a romance. Is a happy ending. Yeah. But like, at one point towards the end, I thought, is this not going to be a happy ending?
Yes.
Like, is she going to walk away? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, you know, you think, oh, it's going to be a happy ending, so whatever, it's going to work out. But I really did have my doubts in this one. So, well done her for tricking me.
Definitely, we recommend 18, guys. So was there anything else, like, quickly that you wanted to mention on Audible that was free? Because
yes, which I haven't said to you, and I'm not sure why.
Oh, I'm gonna have to search it up while you're talking.
I will, because I have them in physical copies, and they're a popular book, so I was very surprised to see them for free on Audible. The Cruel Prince.
I was meaning to read that a long time ago. Is that free on Audible? Oh my god, adding it.
It is. So I re-listened to the last book, The Queen of Nothing.
It's not free on Audible.
What? Not anymore. It was.
Buy 1 credit. We'll still talk about it if it was free. It might come back. Damn it.
It was. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, there is another one called The Cruel Prince, so maybe.
It's not the same, but interesting.
Maybe you saw that and thought it was.
It was definitely this one because I listened to this one for free.
Oh, okay.
And it was good. You know,
or maybe it's the second one that's free then, just not the first one.
They were all free.
Oh,
that was
that's
the
such
third.
a shame.
The second one, try The Wicked King. Google that and have a look at that one.
I think that is free. Yeah, that's included.
You can't listen to the second one without the first one. You need the first one.
It might be free on Kindle Unlimited.
Might be. I'll be surprised. Well, saying that, I was surprised it was free on Audible, so I really liked it. And it is a very popular, although it is enemies to lovers.
I don't mind enemies to lovers. To me, that's different to bully romance.
Okay, well, he is quite mean, but it's like he's a fairy, so you know, fairies are.
Oh well, I like the sound of that.
It is good. And Jude, the lead girl, is awesome.
I'll read it on Kindle and then listen to the next ones that are free on Audible.
If we were still in the same country, I'd send it to
I know.
We'll just take it.
Miss you. Miss worry stuff. So tell us more about this book, because it's still free on Audible.
Shall I read the back?
No, go from your opinion.
Well, it's been a while.
In a fairy
realm. It is in fairy realm. Jude and her twin sister. Well, there's Jude and her twin sister. Whatever her name is, I can't remember. Their parents get murdered, and the guy who did the murdering, he was a fairy, and he's an assassin, and he kidnaps them, and he brings them to the world of fairy. I'm partially looking at the book to remind me. They get brought up, like her and her twin sister are human, obviously, and they get brought up and raised in the fairy realm around all these fairies. They get mocked and bullied and tormented because they're just puny little humans compared to these superior fairies. But with the assassin that took them, Murdoch, he raises them as his own, so they get raised by a general. So Jude's very cutthroat, she's very brutal, and she craves power. So it was about how she wants to gain more power in this fairy realm. And one of the main bullies, Carden, is a prince to the throne, so she needs to be cunning and deceitful to survive in the fairy realm, and it's just her journey to do that. But I butchered that.
The romance good though?
There is no, I don't think it's categorized as YA. But it might be, actually. I think it is in the YA section. So there's no sexy time. But there's
love. Yeah, like this is a romance podcast. It doesn't always have to have the sexy time. It helps.
No, I really enjoyed it. It's interesting to see the way their relationship develops. It's a really interesting relationship. They're a popular ship.
All right, I will check it out, so long as it doesn't cost a fortune. I'm already paying for 2 subscriptions. So was there any others? You would kind of recommend the other ones in the series of Fictitious, wouldn't you? LJ Sheehan series.
Yeah, I did really enjoy them. That's an over exaggeration. I did enjoy them. I think at the time it helped that I hadn't read a book like that in a while, so I was craving just some pure romance.
Yeah.
Steamy.
The one thing I loved about Fictitious was the obsession, and I noticed even with the other one I read half of, what was it called again? Scandalous, that was it. Again, that was another like obsessive romance. I was really into that, but I just was like, oh, I just want to switch it up, and I ended up just finding other books and never got back to it. So I recommended to Steph Escape to Eden, which is a free series on Audible. The first book is Escape to Eden, and then the second book I've finished is called Escape from Eden, and there's a third book which I've not started yet, and they're all free, and it's definitely a sort of YA, and it's called a romance, but when I read the first book, I didn't think it was a romance. It's just like a dystopian. I didn't think there was really any romance other than that she gained like a fondness for someone in it. But I just really enjoyed the story. I really liked the world. It was like in a futuristic world where humans had changed their DNA to a point where like they were dying in their mid-20s, but they were like superhumans. So they changed their DNA and they had all these like superhuman abilities, and there was like all different types. Did you read any of it?
I think I got through the first chapter, and I really liked the premise and how it started out. But
she like wakes up locked in a room by these like alien looking people.
So isn't it the fact, so I think they die at like 35 or like that's quite an old age considered for these superhumans, and she's one of the original normal humans with, do they call it O blood? Because
yeah, they're the originals.
so like
They're called
original
the
blood.
originals. Yeah.
Yeah, and can't they use their blood? That like, so these people, to save themselves from dying, they need to have original blood. So she's kept as kind of like a,
yeah, she's being
blood
kept
supply
in a lab. So it's like really like horrific the way they do it.
Because I know from the first encounter that she has when she wakes up with one of the superhumans, they're very much considered, you know, she's like, oh dear, like, it's not your fault that you're so inferior.
Yeah.
You know, they really look down on them, don't they? So
on
even
like original humans, like, because you're not as good looking, like they comment on how she's like unattractive,
and like to us she'd be, you know, stunning.
Yeah, like probably. She's obviously a normal, like stunning girl, but compared to these like alien type humans where they've adjusted their DNA to the point of like perfection. Yeah, so it's just a really interesting one, and there's all different types of them. So there'll be like, there's even like some of, they're called primes, I think, and some of these primes, they have basically the guy that she ends up falling in love with, which you'd hardly know from the first book, but by the second book you really see the romance come into play. I don't know, I love the second book. I love the second book even more because it was more romance. But he's like, he's a prime, and he's like he's called a knock, and it's like half nocturnal. So, and he has wings.
Oh, we love wings.
But obviously he can say when he wants them out or not, because sometimes people don't know he's a knock. So I assume that like they appear when he wants them to appear and not. Mm-hmm. But he's really rare, like that's a really rare type of prime. So there's all these different types, and what I really like about it is when she's like going around and she's trying to avoid, because she's escaped the lab, so she's being hunted, and she's got a few primes that are helping her, like a little team that are helping her. Basically she was raised by her dad who's trying to find a cure for, and they call it the kiss, and it's the illness that kills the primes so young, and he's trying to find a cure for this so that they don't have to keep using original's blood. And her dad is also an original, so he's always hiding and everything. Yeah, so basically I've lost my point. I don't want to give like too much of the story away really, so I feel like you'd really enjoy it. So the second book as well gets really good, but this whole series is free, so I don't want to give it away. But yeah, and when she's going around like being hunted and stuff, she like has all this knowledge from her dad, like what type of prime it is, and there'll be all like different types. There's like at one point, it's not giving away too much, but at one point she gets bitten by like a dog type prime. Once they've bitten you, then they can hunt you down wherever you are in the world because they've had the taste for your blood. And then a lot of the primes are really good looking. Like most primes are sort of course made to be really good looking, and they all have like violet eyes or like electric blue eyes, and yeah, a lot, they're like, oh, look at your like dull greeny brown eyes, like hazel eyes over here, feeling offended. I highly recommend it. I think I gave it a 4.5 or a 5. I really enjoyed Escape to Eden. I enjoyed Escape from Eden even more. I also just had one more, another dragon shifter that I wanted to mention, although I can't remember what I gave this one. Did you see that I'd read another dragon one?
No.
I only gave this one a 3 stars. It's a 3.5 actually. And it's called How to Date Your Dragon. It's by Molly Harper. God. And it honestly is so funny. I don't know whether it has different narrators, or the actress is really good at doing different accents. She does all these different like voices for the different characters. There's only one dragon. It's just a classic kind of romance. It's not like a reverse harem or anything. And it's really kind of sweet and cute. You know, if you're just in the mood for like, oh, I just don't want all the angst or the, like most of the time I want like the angst, the darkness. This one I was like, when I was listening to it, especially because the voices that she puts on, like the voices she puts on for the characters is so funny. At first I was like, I don't know if I can get down with this, like, but then I just went with it because it's such a short book. It's only 6.5 hours. It's really short that is. So I like and 2 times. So it's not like super sexy or anything. Like even when there was a sex scene, I was like halfway through it and I'm like, I think they're having sex. Like it.
I don't mind when they're funny. Don't mind. I love a romance when there's just banter and it's just really witty.
I wouldn't say it's like really banter and really witty. It's just like a really cute romance. And what made it funny was more the voices, the different voices of all the different characters. And I like the world. The world that she built was quite cool. It's not amazingly written. It's just like if you want a quick read, you want a dragon shifter lover and light-hearted kind of energy. She's a human and she's gone to this town where humans and shifters, there's all different types of shifters mixed together and in harmony. So she's there to research so that she can go back to the rest of the world and stuff so that there can be more towns like this where they live in harmony. The dragon shifter that she ends up falling in love with, he's the sheriff or whatever, I think, of the town. Not the best sheriff, to be honest. It's not very good at figuring out crimes. There is like a side plot of like shifters keep getting murdered and she's sort of like, oh my God, since I've come to town, like shifters have been murdered. But yeah, it's just lighthearted and cute, you know? And I don't want to give too much away if anyone reads it because it's like quite quick. I think people should give it a go maybe.
Yeah, I'm downloading it now, so I'll give it a
cool.
go. I need something lighthearted.
Yeah, it's lighthearted. You're not going to be blown away. Yeah, so I think for the next episode, I was thinking maybe we should talk about some of our favorites.
Oh, how long have you got?
But I was thinking maybe we could talk about some we both read. Maybe the Penelope Douglas. So we could have a little Penelope Douglas.
I want to reread your favorite.
Credence.
Yeah. I only borrowed it, so I have to buy that. But I just think I need a reread.
So maybe we could just talk about Birthday Girl, Credence. Oh. Yeah, I could definitely reread Credence too. I love that book. I remember Birthday Girl quite well. I don't think I need to read.
I remember them both very well.
I feel like this has been a bit all over the place for our first episode, but not bad, hopefully.
Teething problems. That's all it is, teething problems.
We will need to get like my internet issue sorted and maybe your mic, but all in good time, no rush. But thanks to anybody who's here listening or watching on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, thank you.
You can find us as Tainted Lovers on either YouTube or the podcast platforms. I think we should try and do it as regularly as we can. We'll see how your reading slump goes.
Well, hopefully this will give me the kick up the bum to get out of it. So. Yeah. You know, I have purpose now. There's a reason why.
Maybe rereading Credence will bring you back out of that.
I'm really excited to reread it.
And yeah, I think that's everything. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.